Good morning, Bitcoin, and welcome to a very special Mad Bitcoins Live, featuring the stars of the Life on Bitcoin movie, Beccy and Austin Craig. Hey, Beccy and Austin, welcome to San Francisco. Welcome to Mad Bitcoins. How are things going?
Things are great. We just got here. We're excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Beccy, how's it going?
Good.
Just good. That's great. Now, let's get right down to it. How did this all start? When did you first learn about Bitcoin?
I learned about Bitcoin a few years ago, probably on boingboing.net. I read that like every day. I couldn't go to bed without looking at every article. But heard about Bitcoin, got more and more interested in it, and then just over a couple of years realized like, hey, wait a second, this isn't going away. This is technology that's going to really do stuff. Pretty interesting. So yeah, I wanted to do something, and I'm not a cryptographer, so had to figure out maybe a movie, I guess.
Now, at what point in the relationship did you mention that you were into alternative currencies? I can tell you from personal experience, it's a little too much. Some people just aren't ready for paper wallets and handling their own private keys on the first date.
I think I locked it down. We were engaged by the time I was really talking about Bitcoin much.
No, you were, I was like doing dishes, we were dating, and you said, have you heard about Bitcoin? And I said, no. And then you talked to me a little bit about it, and as soon as you started talking about mining, I was like, what? Stop talking. And then when we were engaged, you said, hey, remember Bitcoin? And that had given me enough time to like think about it and read articles as it was coming up, which it was doing more and more frequently. So when you said, do you want to live on Bitcoin and make a movie? I said yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying yes to that.
So you slowly walked her into it. You started, she was in a trapped location, doing dishes, unable to move, and you're like, what about this Bitcoin thing?
Totally. He totally tricked me.
It worked. It totally worked.
And this is good advice for everyone else. Get the engagement locked down first before you talk about Bitcoin. Maybe mention it a little, plant some seeds, but lock that down first. And it's good advice. Now, how did you make the leap from Bitcoin enthusiast to Bitcoin documentary maker? When did you know that you had to make a movie about Bitcoin?
So I think I went through a lot of what a lot of people do when they hear about Bitcoin. They learn about it and it's confusing but intriguing, so you keep reading about it and you learn more and more and more, and then you reach a point where like the price goes up or something and you're like, oh no, I missed it. And you feel like you've missed the boat, and then you realize like, no, wait, this technology really is going to stick around and it's going to keep going. And I wanted to do something to engage with Bitcoin, to like be involved in that world, but I'm not a programmer, I'm not a cryptographer, I'm not an economist, I don't have the technical skills, but I have worked in video production for a couple of years, like 5-6 years now, doing video marketing. So I hadn't done a feature film, but figured with the right help, we might be able to pull this off. And definitely needed some help from over here.
Happy to help.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Beccy, you're a graphic designer, so you were able to help out on the project as well?
Yeah. Actually, we had another member of the team that did a lot of the graphic design work that you see for like our logo and some of our other kind of assets. I've been helping out in post-production for just little things here and there, but I keep busy with my other job.
And of course, you had to go on the adventure. You had to be living on Bitcoin, so you're certainly involved in that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. Living on Bitcoin.
Giant part of it. Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. So how did living on Bitcoin go? Because I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've seen the trailer. And Beccy, it sounds like you had some hard times there for a little while living on the Bitcoin.
Yeah, just when we were traveling, it just was hard. It was harder than living on currency that everyone has heard of and that everybody takes. So there were just some days. I remember we were walking around Chicago all day long, and I had some snacks, like I had some dried banana chips, but by 2 I had a giant headache because we hadn't eaten anything. And we ate, I think we got a deep dish that night, which was awesome, but it was like 8 or 9 o'clock that we were finally eating it. So just little inconveniences like that really start to add up. And especially when we went out of the country and we're dealing with those inconveniences kind of in a more like condensed way, it got old pretty quickly.
I mean, the whole idea was that we were going to test Bitcoin and see where the shortcomings in the ecosystem were, like where the real challenges were. But it was interesting to see where they popped up because it was not always where we thought it would be. Sometimes it was really easy to get around, and other times it was impossible. Sometimes it was really easy to get a meal, and other times it was virtually impossible. So just like really interesting to see where the challenges happened.
So did you mainly have transportation problems, unable to buy, like, say, mass transit or a bus with Bitcoin, or did it go pretty well?
We were never able to get like a taxi or anything like that. We did a lot of walking. We were able to drive across the country thanks to intermediaries. And we only used intermediaries because we really exhausted all efforts on trying to find a gas station that would take Bitcoin, and that did not get very far.
Yeah, it turns out major oil companies aren't into cryptocurrencies.
Not yet. Maybe soon, hopefully, someday. But we did find a travel agent, so we were able to do the international travel, and that was a huge help, especially since the travel agent was already set up as an intermediary, like that is their business, and so it wasn't a huge, weird thing for them to be buying flights and that kind of thing, and we paid them in Bitcoin, and it worked out really well. But still challenging all the same.
Now that's very cool, and I've said on my own show many times that gas stations should accept Bitcoin. Gas stations should accept Bitcoin. That gas stations should accept Bitcoin. And if you say it 3 times, it must be true. Lewis Carroll said that. So, but it just made so much sense to me. These guys have all these problems with the dollar, the petrodollar. They've been trying to switch to other currencies for years. China doesn't like the petrodollar. And here it is right there, the petro Bitcoin. Think about it. Think about it. So now you guys mentioned you went to Europe. Did things get better or worse when you got to Europe? Was there more or less Bitcoin when you got out of the States?
It depends on which parts of our experience you were looking at, because some things got better, but some things got worse. Like in Kreuzberg in Berlin, this neighborhood in Berlin, there were quite a few shops that had Bitcoin as a already set up. Like we didn't have to talk to anybody and persuade them and teach them what Bitcoin was. It was just Bitcoin accepted here on the window.
Life felt a little bit normal again. Like we could just go to a cafe and get some lunch and not have to evangelize anything before we ate. So that was nice. That was really nice.
But there were other aspects that were exceptionally challenging. Like we would get to a new country and we didn't have our cell phones from the U.S. wouldn't work anymore unless we got a new cell phone plan, and then you have to buy service and you have to contact the service provider. And it became very challenging. We had to really kind of jump from Wi-Fi hotspot to Wi-Fi hotspot, and that got real hairy at times. Like, can we actually do a transaction? Do we have a strong enough Wi-Fi signal here?
And sometimes we did not.
Yeah, occasionally we did not.
Yeah.
Communications can be a real problem. It's too bad they don't have Jeff Garczyk's bit space satellites up yet. That would be a great thing. They're building a network of satellites that would just serve the Bitcoin network. So you wouldn't get internet and all those things, but you could send transactions. So that would be a real lifesaver in these situations, I think.
That would be rad. Yeah. Sign me up.
They have an incredible system. They're going to do these little cube satellites so they can launch like thousands of them, and they're all interchangeable, replaceable, and they just put them in cubes and shoot them out of the space station or something like that. It's fantastic.
They're super tiny too, right? The CubeSats are like little shoebox size.
Very much, and they're replicatable is the thing. So you can make like 100 of them, and maybe 20 of them fall into the atmosphere and burn up. But it's the hundreds that keep going. So.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That would have totally saved our butts a lot, because there were several times when we couldn't do anything. We just had to wait or walk, or we had to figure out essentially how to do without for a while when we couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal.
I know at PorkFest they had a special Bitcoin-only Wi-Fi that would only let you do transactions, but outside of a Liberty Festival that's also very much a Bitcoin festival like PorkFest, I've never seen anything like that before. So Austin and Beccy, you were very early into Bitcoin. It was still a major risk and an exciting adventure at that point to attempt a life on Bitcoin. But what about today? Are you still shopping with Bitcoin? What kind of things do you buy these days?
We do still shop with Bitcoin. In as much as we ever have the opportunity, we totally do. I made a purchase on Purse.io the other day. I bought Paul Vigna and Michael Casey's book, The Age of Cryptocurrency. I was super excited to read it, wanted to get it in my hands because we met Paul when we were living on Bitcoin as we were passing through New York. And he went on to write that book, and I wanted to hear everything he had to say. So, yeah, I was super excited. And then the book came in the mail from Purse, and they'd signed it. It was a signed hardback. So that was pretty rad. And then earlier today, you were telling a merchant today about Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, I was trying to get him to take it.
We didn't succeed today in getting this merchant to accept Bitcoin, but I think we made some real headway.
Yeah, we did. Now he knows that people want to pay in Bitcoin. So that's good. But then we also pay our dish bill with Bitcoin, right. And it's so easy to do, and it's awesome.
Yeah. We signed up for Dish Network, and we've been paying them in Bitcoin ever since for about a year now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy and fast and awesome.
I genuinely was surprised how easy it was when we first did it.
And they're one of the only major service providers taking Bitcoin, where you could get one of your normal bills, TV, phone, cable, that kind of thing, onto Bitcoin. Now, do you scan a QR code? Do they give you an address? How does it work?
I will answer this because I am the one that pays it. So it links to my Coinbase account. So I just make sure I'm logged into Coinbase on my browser, and then I go to Dish's bill payment system. And there's a button you can click, like, I want to pay with a Visa or with my checking account or with Bitcoin. And it's like you click Bitcoin and you click pay, and then it just does it. It's so awesome.
Fantastic.
So good.
Now we're going to move on to the hard questions. Things are about to get serious, so hold on to your hats. Where do you stand on Bitcoin merchant adoption versus Bitcoin spender adoption? Should we build it and hope they come? Or should we develop huge, massive Bitcoin spending hordes and then expect a flood of merchants? Be careful. It's very much a chicken and an egg question.
Yeah, you're not kidding. That is a chicken and egg question. Yes, we should do all of those things. Does that work? Can we just do all of those things? In all seriousness, I think what we need to do is
getting a little choked
excuse
up.
me, yeah, wipe a tear away.
Very passionate about this question.
In all seriousness, I think we probably need to just make the transaction process as smooth and easy as possible, so people like my parents, who are probably never going to really understand Bitcoin, can use it easier than they use something like a credit card. When that happens, you'll find adoption all over the place from merchants and customers, consumers. You want to take this one?
No.
Okay.
All right, the next one is for Becky then. Bigger block size, yes or no? And how big should the blocks be?
Yes. Yes. Big.
Much, much bigger. Very good answer. Now, are you in favor of having other people hold your private keys?
Oh, they're not very private if other people are holding them, right?
Very intimate question.
Yeah. If you trust those people, if you trust them a lot, I guess, because that's pretty private, right? Private keys.
They're definitely holding on to your money. You could never tell who owns your Bitcoins if you don't own the private keys. What's your favorite altcoin?
I'm a Litecoin guy myself. I like Litecoin.
Becky?
I haven't played around with altcoins too much. I like Litecoin. Litecoin makes sense in terms of Bitcoin Litecoin, but just the very idea of Dogecoin is amazing to me. So I'm into that as well.
See, you're absolutely right. The correct answer is Dogecoin. That's what we were going for. Dogecoin was correct. Now, if you could say anything to Satoshi Nakamoto, what would you say?
Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you for being brilliant in a way that like nobody else was before you. This is one of those things that's like as soon as somebody actually builds it, everybody's like, oh, wow, right. Okay, that works. We could do that.
Could I ask him a question? Sure. I would say, why are you so secret? That's what I would want to know.
Probably with good reason. If you develop your own monetary system, I think you'd want to lay low as well. Now, what's your favorite Bitcoin news site? Where do you go for news?
We go to CoinDesk.
Mm-hmm.
CoinDesk? Can we say CoinDesk?
CoinDesk is a good answer. They're all right.
I actually just subscribe to the Bitcoin subreddit, and that gets me all the pertinence that yes.
Our Bitcoin is a very exciting place, but it's also a bit like Moss Eisley. You'll never find a greater hive of scum and villainy. You should be cautious.
I am, but thank you.
And finally, what's your favorite Mad Hatter themed Bitcoin YouTube show?
I'm gonna go with like Let's Talk Bitcoin.
We're on MadBitcoins.
Oh.
This is Let's Talk Bitcoins tomorrow.
Okay, so we really love MadBitcoins. Yes.
MadBitcoins.
Always love the show you're on. That's a good tip for next time. Well, thank you very much, Austin and Becky, for being on the show. I'd just like to remind everyone that the Bitcoin Group will be back next week with the best Bitcoins, the sharpest Satoshis, and the hardest cryptocurrency talk. The Life on Bitcoin movie premieres in San Francisco this Wednesday, July 22nd at the Internet Archive at 7 p.m. Tickets are still available, $5 or pay what you want, online or at the door. Check out lifeonbitcoin.com for more information. And they do accept Bitcoin for those tickets. We checked. Special thanks to the San Francisco Bitcoin Meetup, the Internet Archive, and Purse for sponsoring the event. Until next time, this has been Mad Bitcoins. Mad Bitcoins? Mad Bitcoins. Wave goodbye. That's it.
All right.